from today's TMJ4. This is Wisconsin Tonight. Here's Carole Meekins and Mike Jacobs.
And thanks for joining us on Wisconsin Tonight. Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clarke is here to defend his controversial public service announcement.
In it, he urges us to carry guns, saying it's our responsibility to protect ourselves. That PSA led to interviews on major TV networks and heated responses from Mayor Tom Barrett, County Executive Chris Abele, and Police Chief Ed Flynn, among others.
And we're going to talk live with the sheriff in just a moment. But first, here's a look at what brought us here tonight, where we're beginning with the entire PSA.
I'm Sheriff David Clarke, and I want to talk to you about something personal, your safety. It's no longer a spectator sport. I need you in the game. But are you ready? With officers laid off and furloughed, simply calling 911 and waiting is no longer your best option. You can beg for mercy from a violent criminal, hide under the bed, or you can fight back. But are you prepared? Consider taking a certified safety course in handling a firearm so you can defend yourself until we get there. You have a duty to protect yourself and your family. We're partners now. Can I count on you?
This safety message brought to you by the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office.
The PSA debuted January 25th. Reaction was quick, emotional, and intense. County Executive Chris Abele said it was a call for vigilantism. Mayor Tom Barrett called it irresponsible and said Sheriff Clarke must be auditioning for a Dirty Harry movie. On January 29th, the debate played out on national TV when Sheriff Clarke and Mayor Barrett appeared on Piers Morgan Tonight on CNN.
What you're creating is a return to the Wild West in Milwaukee.
I can answer the question.
So I think it's actually relevant that you don't actually have any idea how many people ever need to actually fire a firearm at home to defend themselves.
Are we going to have an honest exchange here, or are you just going to continue to talk over me?
Chief Ed Flynn also fired back, calling the ad irresponsible, saying 911 is still the best option.
But I think he could have successfully advocated for gun owners' rights without undermining the confidence of the citizens of Milwaukee County in their local law enforcement agencies.
And Sheriff David Clarke is here in our studio tonight. Thank you for joining us.
Mike, it's a pleasure. Carole, it's always good to see you.
Why did you feel it was necessary in the first place to put out a PSA like this?
Well, there's a number of things that are going on the ground. And as you know, I'm always honest with people, straightforward when I have an opinion or something to talk about, something to offer to debate, discussion, and dialogue. And there is a growing notion in this country, and my message was for the people of Milwaukee County, that we need to be afraid of law-abiding citizens with firearms. Two things have happened in this state, as both of you know, within the last 18 months. One was Castle Doctrine, which provided the legal means for people to protect themselves and their family inside their home in the event that an intruder broke in. The other is the Personal Protection Act, and that allows people under certain conditions to apply for a permit from the state and to be able to go around with a concealed weapon. All right, so I operationalize those two things because of one simple fact. It's taking the law enforcement officers longer and longer periods of time to get to a call for service. Not through the fault of any law enforcement officers. They haven't been given the resources. Tom Barrett furloughed 1,500 Milwaukee police officers 3 days each for this year. That's 4,500 fewer officer hours on the streets to answer calls for service. The calls for service don't diminish when you cut back. They're also operating with 200 fewer officers. In my case, last year I had to lay off, because of Chris Abele's budget cuts, 48 law enforcement officers, meaning there's going to be a lag time to do things like serve domestic violence restraining orders. So I took a look at this, and then I heard a news release put out by the Milwaukee Police Department about a growing burglary and robbery problem in the Sherman Park area. And I said, hey, we got to do something else. Why don't we leverage some resources out there within the community? 155,000 people have applied for and received permits, and they have communicated this to me. They see that they play a role in their personal safety, not to police the streets. I've always viewed personal safety as an individual responsibility.
Well, Sheriff, a lot of people about this were very concerned with your saying that calling 911 will not help. They say that is irresponsible. How do you answer people who are very upset with that part?
Well, you know, they can throw all the tomatoes at this that they want. But the fact is, and I'll give you a few quick stats, it takes on average a police officer to respond to a call of an armed robbery 18 minutes. For a sexual assault, 51 minutes. For an officer ride. Imagine that, if you've been sexually assaulted, waiting that long. 30 minutes for a domestic violence battery, and an hour and 2 minutes for a reckless use of a weapon.
But are you saying people should not call 911?
No, if you listen to the ad, and I know you did, it says it may not be your best option in certain situations. And I referred to that, you know, when the wolf is at the door, when the intruder is inside, calling 911 does not mean that the police are going to be there in seconds. You have a duty, it says, to protect yourself and your family, and here's some things that I need for you to think about. Because if you're going to partner with me, and I said until we get there, there are some things that you need to do and some things that you can do. And in the instance of being on the street, a Milwaukee police officer several weeks ago was held up on the street, off duty, at gunpoint, and the suspect demanded his wallet. Instead of reaching for his wallet, he reached for his firearm he was carrying, and he shot the suspect. That same option should be available to the average citizen. So I trust law-abiding people. I'm not worried about them. Who I'm worried about is a criminal perpetrator.
So you're saying people should use this as an option to keep handy just in case.
Sure,
That's basically why this ad is out there.
start thinking about this today, not when the intruder's upon you.
Mayor Barrett fired a question in your direction. Let's listen to what the mayor had to say that night on CNN.
I need our sheriff to support the initiative that says that individuals who sell guns ensure that those guns are not being sold to criminals, they're not being sold to people who have domestic violence orders, and they're not being sold to people who have involuntary mental judgment commitments. And I need that because 40% of the sales are occurring outside of gun dealers.
That night, it didn't seem like you got a lot of chance to respond fully to the mayor's comments, so we're going to give you that chance now.
I don't believe in in many of these proposals being made as it relates to gun control because they simply don't work. I look at the research, I look at the science. The 40% that he mentioned, that's a myth. That's been debunked. That was established in like 1997 with this study. That study is nearly 20 years old and it's been debunked. So let's use accurate data, and the fact is that the universal background checks will do nothing to keep a career criminal from obtaining a firearm and using it to commit a crime. So let's work on the stuff that works, and let's stop attacking law-abiding citizens.
But what about the purchases? If you go to a gun store, you gotta get checked. You can do it online, you can do it at gun shows. Are you saying there should be no background checks for some of those people to weed out some of the folks who, I would think you would not even want some of those people to have guns?
And we do have background checks, extensive ones. The gun show loophole, again, that's a myth. You know, and I'm gonna go by what the research is. And people can present their own research if they want. The fact is that about 0.06% of guns used in crimes were purchased at the gun shows. That small a figure, not the 40% that Tom Barrett mentioned. So I would ask this: why would we spend millions of dollars to create this new program with this universal when most of the background checks are being done anyway, 0.6%? Why would we spend millions of dollars for a program that is going to have no effect on a criminal obtaining a firearm? They don't apply for background checks. They don't apply for permits.
Well, you have certainly begun the dialogue, and we will continue the dialogue. And we want to say that we have invited Mayor Barrett, Chief Flynn, and County Executive Abley to come to the show tomorrow. So far, we haven't gotten a response. Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clarke, we do appreciate you being with us and sort of expanding on your beliefs about this entire issue.
It's always my pleasure. I think the discourse is good.
Thank
you.
Sheriff.
Appreciate it.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, sir.